good after morning.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. A little different of a drink that we're drinking.
So, for those that are watching, we do not have coffee at the moment because it's been a pretty eventful morning. Because, one, my power went out at my place. So, and then
as we were about to record.
Yeah, and then so for today's records, me and Cameron were trying to watch the solar eclipse going on today.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a one-time thing for now.
Not another one for 20 more years.
Yeah, we didn't want to miss that, so we were like, well, let's just push it back to recording.
Yeah.
So,
and now it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
It is, yeah. So, yeah. Welcome. I'm Emoticon Trash, and this is my good buddy Cam.
Hey.
So, welcome to TechBrew for those of you who are probably just joining in. But we're both just a couple nerds into technology. We are always just kind of like nose diving into all sorts of things that interest us. Technology wise, we like talking a lot about AI technology, how it's progressing very fast today, and a lot of it can't really be stopped. So, but it's definitely something to bring up and bring to people's attention is what I would probably say that most people don't really think about. And I mean, obviously with older generations, from what they grew up with technology, but how things now have advanced very fast, which is, I think I could say for me and you is crazy how things progressed so quick.
But, it's going to be interesting to see, our childhood, what we had things like the original Xbox, the OG Xbox, the OG PlayStation. And, now we've got VR headsets and AR and all this stuff. Imagine what it's going to be like when, our kids essentially are what's their first console going to be? Is it even going to be a console? Is it just going to be, here's the Oasis from Ready Player One? That's a standard video game nowadays. It's like, what's it going to be?
It's nuts, but today, for today's topic, what kind of the key words that Cam was just saying is virtual reality. So I think mainly we're just going to stick with probably just Apple Vision Pro and MetaQuest.
Those are the two biggest ones.
Definitely two biggest ones with like competition, where it's like Apple versus like Android, kind of thing. So, but yeah, it's very interesting, and we were just kind of talking about it. And one of the main things I guess we can kind of just start off with is just how in London some medical professionals have been delving into using this type of VR technology into actual live surgeries, not just for like practice in some other room, like, real official working on people with
Right.
VR headsets, which is nuts.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah,
Especially in our generation.
yeah. But what are your main thoughts on that?
I don't know. If you look at the history of VR, VR has actually been around for a long, long time. At least attempts have been. I know back in the 80s they actually had some attempts to make VR headsets, or you know, something that was along the lines of a virtual world for kids back in the 80s, and it didn't. The technology wasn't really there, at least not cheap anyway. But now it's easier to make, it's cheaper to make. Technology again is only advancing, but it's interesting to see aspects of technology, or technology being used in a way you wouldn't expect it to be used. Um, for me, when we were discussing that article, most people, including me, view VR headsets as gaming consoles, right? I mean, that's what I would say the most of the massive marketing has been for gaming and watching movies and TV shows. Um, so to see a VR headset used in a field, something as serious as the medical field, is interesting to say the least. I think there's, if someone can find a reason for it to be in that particular field, I'd say go for it. You know, now I'm I'm hesitant in the sense, obviously, that it's being used in a live surgery situation. Granted, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know exactly in what aspect it was being used for that surgery, and exactly what they were using it for. Hopefully, it wasn't to Google things.
Right.
Where is the heart? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
Sir, that's the liver.
oops. It's interesting to see when in general, across all technology fields, when someone releases a technology, um, the different fields that it gets used in, and especially with VR being mostly marketed towards video games. That's where the technology tends to kind of push itself, is to video games and movies and TV shows. To see it in a non-video game aspect is interesting, to say the least. So
Yeah.
and I'm I'm
And
I'm I'm all for it. If you can find a use for it in your field and it's able to make your job easier and safer, I'd say go for it. As long as it's, genuinely helping you make your environment easier and safer to operate.
yeah. And to kind of give more context for people that are still trying to like figure out the certain capabilities for these two companies, is MetaQuest is for more gaming wise and
It's
just playing
very heavily
whatever.
gaming. Mhm.
Yeah, heavily gaming for obviously gamers that play, or especially for like YouTubers and
Mhm.
play games. But um, for the Apple Vision, that one is for you know kind of more. I kind of say it more as like office. So it's kind of like having meetings, doing reports or whatever, or you're able to have like multiple people on like a FaceTime call and you're able to multitask at the same time, more for
Yeah.
office. I mean, granted, with this technology, people could, uh, I'm sure, probably program it some way to make Apple Vision into a gaming thing. You
Mhm.
never may know. That could happen. And
Right.
I'm sure some people have tried to crack at that, but, um, and it's very interesting. But from what I've read, was most of these doctors were using these headsets more for spinal surgeries and a couple of like knee replacements. Um, it's I guess the thing about it is it's very interesting with using these, and I've heard some like I told you, I've heard a couple of ads for I haven't really found any so far on articles. I'll have to look into it, but I've heard with um, welders are starting to use VR into more of training wise.
I have vaguely seen that a long time ago. They were using it to emulate welding.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
things
think
like
that's
that.
I think that's a neat aspect of it as well for training.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you don't want to be the head manager and looking up 4 stories up, and there's somebody welding with Apple Vision. You
Right.
know, you just give
Yeah.
you a heart attack.
Apple Vision or any VR does not replace a welding helmet.
Yeah, by all
Don't do
means,
it.
no.
Don't weld with one of those. Training, yes. If you can like use the emulator with your hands, then absolutely. But don't actually weld and assume that that's going to be a visor replacement.
Yeah, definitely no. Yeah,
Someone out there's probably already done it though.
I don't remember when the exact like date when Apple Vision came out, but I remember seeing a couple of videos of
Mm-hmm.
people walking around like I think it was like LA, New York, just
Oh yeah, they're
sitting on subways, and obviously for people with this, you're still technically, yes, I get it with the Vision Pro, you can still see through it, but you're not going to be able to see from your peripheral vision. You're still
right.
walking around with goggles, so it's like, don't be
Yeah,
stupid like these people do. Don't walk across the street thinking you're
right.
fine or
Yeah,
whatever, because that's dumb.
yeah.
Just use it indoors or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's
In your
it's
home, in a business.
ridiculous. Yeah. Um,
That's definitely an our generation thing though, or younger, but definitely it's definitely the Zers.
well, I mean, definitely from what you were saying, like what we grew up with. Did you ever have that toy? You probably know what I'm going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
The thing you could put up like this, and then you could put little films of disc
Absolutely, the
into it.
little
Yeah,
red
ching.
thing.
Yeah,
I always forget the name of that thing, but I see it every once in a while. I'll see someone talk about it. I'm like, I had one of those. They're so cool, little. But yeah, those are so cool.
I mean, yeah, you aren't wrong because like now that I think about it, technically VR has been around for a long, long time, and then
Mm-hmm.
especially with um, our generation growing up, that's what we had, and I remember as a kid thinking, "Oh my gosh, this could be like the future of technology." Even though it was just, I'm assuming probably just a simple marketing toy, to just get. I think the only film on there I remember was it just had dinosaurs on it.
Yeah,
Um, but still, I remember thinking it was the most coolest thing ever. Um,
Sega VR in the 90s.
Interesting.
Sega planned on they developed a VR headset in the 90s, planned on it being a add-on peripheral for the Genesis, and they had a public showcase but I guess they ran into development issues and it got canceled before it could really be sold. Technology wasn't there. I mean, as much as you like, it wasn't there at the time. So now imagine if it had been where VR would be today, if the development of VR had been back then. Now I was actually reading that the first instance of VR, if you take the base of VR, was 1968 by American computer scientist Ivan Sutherland. In 1957, cinematographer Morton Hewlig developed Sensorama as a culmination of his quest to build a more complete cinema experience. It was like a machine you could put your head into.
Oh, gotcha.
It was a non-computerized VR machine. So man, they've been having VR since longer than I thought. 1989, the first video game with 3D technology was brought to the mass market by Atari.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's the second thing. I remember looking at it. It looks goofy. Looks like a RoboCop visor, which would make sense because it was the 90s. So that kind of I can see the inspiration for like Terminator and RoboCop and all that.
Oh yeah, the one I had. Do you remember? Did you ever watch the TV show Rescue Heroes?
Vaguely, every once in a while, I know what it is, but I didn't watch it that often.
Oh man, I had a whole stack of action figures, and they were such a popular toy. It was basically like, uh, if you think about it, it's kind of like Paw Patrol back in the day, but with humans. Um,
Mm.
it's basically what it was back when I was little, and they had a like a Rescue Heroes goggle thing like that, and it had
Yeah.
the logo on it.
Hmm. Interesting.
Um, I've had that one. I've had that one for years. But yeah, it's just. I mean, the thing about it, it's just not a lot of people are going to be able to afford this with the uh, Apple Vision Pro on that
Oh
side.
yeah, no, not at $3,500.
Yeah, for people wondering, yeah, that's
That's the price of
literally
it.
how much it's going to be. Now, yeah, MetaQuest is affordable.
Hmm.
So,
It's
but
more affordable. It's not necessarily I would classify as affordable, but it's more affordable.
right.
Personally, it's $500.
But it's just like me
Hmm.
as a as an iPhone user,
Yeah.
it's like I don't really know if I would be able to enjoy that because and I mean I've basically the first experience I've had was I tried out the Oculus
Hmm.
and um, I remember playing one or two games and there was some like Star Wars game that I was playing with
Oh, it's like
and
one of like the defaults that come because I've played it too, where you're just a Jedi like in a spaceship, and then you have to like fight Darth Vader.
yeah,
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 like with like the MetaQuest 2 or the it used to be named Oculus. Now then they named it to MetaQuest. Same thing
yeah,
though. The same, they rebranded to MetaQuest. So Oculus Quest and MetaQuest are the same thing for those who don't know.
but yeah, I just don't think I can do them because to me after a while I started to feel kind of dizzy,
Yeah,
not lightheaded, but just more dizzy.
yeah,
And it to me the first time doing it, obviously it was so much to take in. And it was very
yeah,
overwhelming for me
yeah.
with this kind of technology. But and a lot of things I've been hearing so far with people doing reviews about Apple Vision Pro is that it's basically just a big chunk of computer sitting on you, and
Yeah.
and that thing can get heavy over time.
Oh
And
yeah.
then you got to think about the uh, battery pack that
Yeah.
comes
That's
with it.
the that's the two biggest, or I guess three biggest turnoffs for me personally when they announced the Apple Vision Pro. One is the fact that it's $3,500. Two, Apple. And three, that's a whole other topic though. And three, the battery pack, which is like hardwired into the headset. It doesn't come off. I think you can like disconnect the cord, but like you can't use your own battery pack. They have a proprietary connector, which that's Apple and their proprietary connectors. They're very known for that. But and it's not even, I can't remember the actual battery size, but it's not even like the biggest one out there. And I know obviously if you have a bigger battery, it can weigh more, but they've got batteries that last longer, like the battery packs that last longer that don't weigh nearly as much as those things do.
Yeah,
But I think when it comes to the Apple Vision Pro, some of the differences between the Apple Vision Pro and the Meta Quest 2, or excuse me, 3 now. They're geared towards two different types of users. Gamers for the Quest and business users for the Vision Pro. There's a lot that the Vision Pro can do that the Quest can't do, and vice versa. Um, so I don't know exactly what justifies the $3,500 price. Besides slapping the Apple logo on it. Um, I think when it comes to like the quality of the cameras, memory, and everything, I think they're pretty close to each other. I don't know if they're like that close or if they're that far away. I'm not sure, but I know they're pretty neck and neck when it comes to like overall performance and quality. Um, I'm pretty sure because both have VR and AR technologies, which AR is augmented reality, which is basically you're viewing outside the VR headset. You're able to project things basically outside the VR headset or view things outside the VR headset. Really. Um. But yeah, I haven't really done a lot of like what's the specifics of the Apple Vision Pro because I'm not a follower of Apple products, so I haven't really looked into the full specs of what it has. I just know that it has a ridiculous $3,500 price tag.
yeah. Most of the stuff that I'm getting so far um, that I'm seeing so far mainly reviews for it, and it's mainly just I not necessarily the reason why it's so expensive, but I mean, first off, yeah, just put the price down just a little bit, you know.
I So with me in particular, I'm Android all the way because Android has, as they say, an open source market, and you can that's Apple versus Android will be a conversation for another day. But with companies like Apple, right, their name is really their biggest price tag. You know,
Yeah,
they're not this is a quote from themselves. They're not a technology company; they're a design company. Who just designs technology. So a lot of their technology looks sleeker and looks fancier. Um, but you know, I have to believe that the Apple Vision Pro, a part of that price tag, maybe not the whole part, but some part of that price tag is because It just has the Apple branding on it.
Yeah, I mean,
Totally
obviously
agree.
for that, and just having state of the art parts to it from
Well,
what
and
I have
yeah,
read.
that's another thing too with Apple. A lot of they've gotten to the point now where I'd say almost like 100% of all of their products are made by Apple. Like the CPUs are now Apple. I think they used to be Intel for like the longest time.
Mm.
They got almost everything is 100% Apple designed within an Apple like phone and watch. They use the M1 chips or the M. I think what are they on, like M3 now? I can't remember. For a lot of their products, so they've gotten almost fully Apple with every component of their phones and their watches. Android doesn't. I don't think Android's 100% Google. Um, because Android's likes to take the best of the best from whoever's currently got it. So you might see a AMD CPU and a camera lens from whoever, and they just like to pull from whoever they got. But yeah, I don't know why I just thought of this, but can I tell you a really funny story? It's related to the VR headsets.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
when you were it's actually when you were I thought of this when you were talking about the Star Wars experience. They have like a three, like episode 1, 2, and 3, like Star Wars experience. I think they're like either they were free with MetaQuest 2 or they were like $10 or whatever. But they're not even like games essentially. They're just like walkthrough experiences. You pretty much just sit there the whole time while your character moves. Um, one of the things with the Meta or the Oculus, which as it was known, um, that I was unaware of that it was a feature was, I use a wheelchair, so I'm sitting in a wheelchair when I'm using a VR, and I just assumed that they didn't have like a wheelchair feature where it would make like the world lower, so like you're still eye level with the other characters. So my first time playing one of the Star Wars games, I was basically like 3'5", and all the other characters I was looking up at because I was sitting down. So it assumed that I was just playing sitting in a chair. So I was staring at all these characters, looking up because I was from a wheelchair perspective. And I got to the part where Darth Vader comes out of like a corridor or something, or like an elevator. He comes out, and it's actually James Earl Jones's voice, or someone who sounds just like James Earl Jones. But it was a James Earl Jones style voice who was the original voice of Darth Vader doing Darth Vader, and I'm just sitting there like, ugh. And canonically, if you look up how tall Darth Vader is in canon, in the lore, he's like 7'1" or something. He's ridiculous. He's like 7 foot something. So, and they make him like 7 feet tall. I'm sitting there just like, ah, this is the scariest thing in the world. And then I paused it, and I was able to there. I went to the accessibility settings, and there was like a wheelchair thing. And if you say that you're like in a wheelchair, it'll make the height, like it lowers the height for everybody, or it makes you taller. I'm not sure, but it makes you where you're eye level with everybody, so you can feel like you're actually standing up and
Yeah.
whatnot. It's still scary seeing Darth Vader and basically, like he's right in front of you. But it's a lot less scary when he's closer to being eye level instead of just way up there.
Yeah.
But
Oh my gosh. How tall is Master Chief supposed to be? I can't remember.
7'3", I want to say. Find out. Give me like 5 seconds.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds about right.
7 foot. 7 foot even.
Jeez.
So, and Darth Vader is specifically. Oh, he's 6'8". Sorry, excuse me. He's not 7 feet, but 6'8" is still ridiculously tall.
Oh yeah. I've known I've known a coworker before that I worked with who's 6'6", so
Yeah.
that's still pretty tall.
Well, I'll tell you what's scary is I went to a convention. Wow, I go to conventions when they come to town, which not very many come here, but when they do, and you got someone of any importance, I'll go to one, and Kevin Nash, the wrestler, the WWE wrestler,
Hmm.
who I think is actually from the Oklahoma area. He came to one. And that dude is like 7'3". He's he's 7 foot something. Oh, he's 6'10". He's basically 7 foot. He's 2 inches away from being 7 feet. Now he was wearing boots, so that probably made him 7 foot. That seeing someone 7 foot tall in real life, horrifying.
Ginormous, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh, he's not from Oklahoma. Oh, I'm thinking of Goldberg. Goldberg is from, I think, Goldberg from Oklahoma. Anyway,
yeah,
so VR, it to kind of round it back. It's 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 very immersive, and it can it can trick you into think that like whatever you're staring at, or like they've got some games where you have to like walk along like the side of a building and you look down, and some of the games they're the quality is good enough where it kind of tricks you into thinking, holy crap, I'm standing on the side of a building, or I'm looking at somebody who's 7 foot whatever. And for just that moment, you're like, you're a little scared.
yeah.
I have yet, and I refuse to do this because VR headsets are so expensive. I have yet to play any like scary like horror game because I don't want to throw a VR headset across the wall. It's harder to do that with a gaming console because the gaming console is already, sitting on your TV stand. You're not necessarily near it, and game controllers are only $60. Um, but I'm afraid if I like jumped and jerked with the VR headset playing a scary game, it'd fly off and it'd break.
Oh, dude, I'm the same. I'm the same way. Like it everything else, like every other game, yeah, I'm totally fine with.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can't. I even on the Oculus, I
Mm-hmm.
went on YouTube
Yeah.
and looked up like a 3D VR Siren Head experience,
Oh gosh.
and yeah, I wasn't able to finish it because I just I got so scared.
I don't know if I
And
could. I don't know if I could do a non VR Siren Head experience. I probably could, but
yeah, it's very it. I don't know. It's like I've said before. I think it was like on the last podcast of just like you're. It's too much to take in because my brain is just like it's real.
so
It's not real.
overwhelmed.
It's real. It's not real. It's real.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
and just the fact of you're able to look above, look behind you, look
Oh yeah,
side
you
to
can look
side.
completely behind, and there's a world behind you. There's like actual stuff there. It's crazy.
It's it's nuts, yeah. And but yeah, kind of like um yeah, I feel like there could be good things put towards it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just not exactly sure like how training stuff is gonna go
Mm-hmm.
for that kind of things. I mean, for uh, careers and things like that,
Yeah.
and which it might go well. I think as of right now, it's still kind of a um, uh, under under development kind of thing right now. It's not exactly popular because it's still something that they're still trying to do research on.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows? But I mean, besides, for any brand to use it for more just entertainment, yeah, it's very interesting technology. But
Right.
at the same time, you know, what's that going to look like in 50 years or something? Is that just going to be driving VR headset while driving a Tesla at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
What's that going to look like for the future? Or is um, everybody going to be communicating with that? Uh,
Right.
um, just it it gives me chills sometimes because it's like I feel like we're trying to get ahead of ourselves as humans and
Yeah.
developing technology. I guess for me, I'm thinking of it more as the um, business side wise, not much the gaming parts of it. I'm kind of thinking of it more for the like businesses making phone calls with people
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. VR wise, I'm just kind of interested in more of um, like how it's going to be used for like I guess for Apple. From what I'm thinking of is FaceTime calls and
Mm-hmm.
what's that going to look like? Or am I going to be able to in the next couple of years like uh, make a phone call to you, and instead of it just being a straight 2D image, it's going to be like a 3D avatar of
Right.
you
Like I can
talking to
walk
me.
around you.
Exactly. That's how I'm just kind of thinking about it right
Yeah.
now.
I will say one of the things I wanted to highlight real quick. Um, a few things really quick that I wanted to highlight. Let me get rid of some of these non-related articles. One, kind of how we started the podcast was talking about it being used in the medical field, and I found this article about how there's a company called where are they Mind Immersive, Mind Immersive.
Oh, okay.
It's a tech company that is working with the Department of Veteran Affairs, the VA, to help veterans with PTSD treatment,
Hmm.
and they're doing it in the particular way that I haven't really ever heard of. I didn't know that this was a good method for helping with PTSD, but reading this article, it makes sense. Basically, what they're doing is they're having these veterans put on these VR headsets and basically having them relive the trauma, whatever it was. If it was a Humvee explosion, if it was something back in Vietnam, whatever it is, they're having them live basically through this recreated uh, experience that they described as close as possible. Having them relive this experience and then having them uh, express it in a particular way and through therapy, and there's a connection that the therapist and the veteran can kind of see. They can kind of connect a little bit, um and it's quite interesting. um
Yeah.
yeah, basically helping them through the trauma by having them relive it and having them talk about it in more detail because they can pick up on more things. um
Yeah,
they can
especially
remember more and more detail as they kind of as it tricks into their head or picks it back into their head.
yeah. I mean, especially this stuff being used for science, technology, education, that might start being pretty big improvement. And I'm starting to see that, because that might be something where might be going down the line with that. But in retrospect, yes, it's very interesting, because that would be able to help people more. But I do think we shouldn't get too far into that, because and just, I guess, just basically for what I believe in is, us as humans, yes, this technology is great, and these are some of the good things about technology,
Right.
and with these Vision Pros, or just VR in general. But for us as humans, us to communicate, us to debate, us to have feelings, you can't really get all that stuff with that. You have to have actual physical, in-person interactions with real people. And I get it, there's probably just people that they can't do that. They can't talk with real people, or probably just some medicated thing with it, or just some treatment. But then, yeah, that might be a good thing for them to use with whatever. But that's just the thing, though. I think us as humans, we're so fascinated with, but then I think we kind of, trying to think, like, losing the value of us as humans. We were made on this earth to, talk to each other. I mean, debate things with each other.
Right.
So
Social.
yeah. So basically,
all I'm saying is some of my final words for the episode for the day. I'm waiting for the Oasis. Just give me the Oasis and I'll be okay. I want my Ready Player One. I want to take my DeLorean and fight Godzilla in the year 2041 or whatever it is. I don't remember what it is in the book, but it's like 20 years from now. 2045. They have 20.
oh, whoops! I looked at the wrong one.
They got 21 years. 21 years to create the Oasis.
Jeez.
Man, I need to find the 3 keys to get the golden egg to get hundreds of billions of dollars.
Just look out for Chucky.
Exactly.
So,
yes, sir.
All right. Well, I think that'll about do it. Those people that are interested, we'll just be talking more topics and things like that. And at some point, we'll be able to just have people ask questions and just like curious, like what we should talk about and things like
I was
that.
thinking at some point we have like a user submitted questions segment of an episode or episodes or whatever.
Just wanted to say a little motto because it's my turn. So
yes, sir.
So everybody, just drink coffee in moderation and don't believe everything you hear on the internet. So,
that also applies to soda, by the way.
Yeah.
Even though I'm drinking,
especially these. Yeah.
Even though I'm drinking a 0 sugar, 0 calorie fake soda, still drink it in moderation.
All righty. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.
All right. Peace.